I have my loaf. This is going to be whole wheat flour with about 2/3 whole wheat flour and about 1/3 unbleached bread flour. Okay, all from King Arthur, which is using modern wheat, but at least it's not all bleached and enriched and everything. Has a higher protein count. So we're going to do that. And this is on a second proof already. It's already risen quite a bit. So because I want to, I'm going to do a second loaf. So let's get on that. Okay, so a little bit of a mess because I've already done one loaf. You know, I've already got one loaf going over there. It's on his second proof. I made my eggs for breakfast. And then I decided, well, my bread supply is getting a little low. So we're going to just do a second loaf. I like to put a little salt in here, which is where I'm going to be putting my flour next. However, this is for rising, you know, my fast rise yeast. I have it at 105 degrees. I hope you can see that. So we're going to pull that out because I don't need that in there. This is my active yeast. And some people like to do starter and stuff like that. That just seems, that's like daily work. I'm not there. And I use, cup and a quarter to a cup and a half of water. I'm doing a cup and a half this time because that one I had to add about almost a quarter cup of water for it to have the right consistency on the mix. So it's it says 2.5 teaspoons of yeast. Okay, so that's just like that. And we are going to put a pinch of granulated sugar in there. And that really, all that's going to do is give the yeast a little bit of a pep to rise a little faster, give it something to feed on as it's doing its thing. So that has to become a little bit, actually washed this here a little bit ago. It's going to be, make it, give it a little something, make it foam up a little faster. So what happens is the yeast will now start to, it'll activate, it'll get excited, and we'll just put the stuff inside. It takes about 5 minutes, sometimes 10. Yeah, like I said, this is all part of the other loaf I worked. I'm going to close this up. We'll be sticking that back in the fridge a little bit. Okay. So, there's my bowl, which as you can see, it has already done one loaf. Could have washed it. Yeah, whatever. So, let's hair weight this. Right, good. Okay. Now we are going to go for 375 grams of whole wheat King Arthur flour. So we're sitting on 376. Close enough. It's baking here. It's kind of science. It is kind of science. Now we're going to take it up to about 500 grams with bread flour. Bread flour is a higher protein flour, and it just gives a different gluten feel. 506. That is close enough. Put that off to the side. You can see we have some dark rye flour. JR wanted that. He has a recipe that he wants to do. Okay, good for him. And last time he did it was without the rye flour, and it was still pretty yummy. And it was it was just hamburger buns is all it was. So I don't want that one. I want this one because I want to blend this together fairly well. It doesn't take long. So let's see what's happening with this. Yeah, you can see this coming up and it's starting to foam. It's got a couple more minutes. I like to do this to blend the different varieties together. One of the things you can do is you can get to, you can take a pat of butter, put it in there, let it incorporate. I think I will. Take a pat of butter. About 2 tablespoons. Could melt it. I want to see what happens if I don't. Because you know what? I just want to know. Will it just work it in? I can hear it. It's working on something. So I can see it running around in there. I can hear it just a bit. That's okay. And I like to put butter and I like to put honey in my bread. About 2 tablespoons is what I like. When it's in the einkorn, boy, you can really taste it in the einkorn. So that's about 2 tablespoons. Yeah. Doing it by sight, I know. How could you? This is baking. I'm okay with it though. So this isn't ready yet, but I want to take a look. It actually looks pretty. It's starting to look pretty good. It's not stretching enough. Okay, it has not formed enough gluten yet, so we're gonna let it run for a little longer. But you can see it's coming together nicely. It's falling off the hook. I kind of want to give it a chance to incorporate some more, but it does need some more. Normally, you would be, other people would be kneading this by hand. I got a mixer. Yeah. I encourage you, if you have a mixer, use it. There you go. Set on 2. And here's where that first loaf is currently at. That thing's still kneading. Here's where that first loaf is at for rising, and it's been at it for about 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, up to an hour. It'll rise depending upon what you have. I have a 9x5 pan here. It works pretty well. The first pan I bought that I haven't even used for bread was this one, and you can see the size difference here. And this is considered a 4.5 by 8.5. And I haven't even used it for this yet. It's been used for banana bread, but not for this bread. So yeah, so this will rise for another. I'd probably give it another 15 minutes. I'd like for it to be above the pan before I put it in the oven. And so, yeah. Anyway, so I did increase my water by quite a bit on this batch over that one. A 1/4 cup is actually quite a bit of an increase. So I can see that it's really not forming up quite the way I like it. So we're going to add always small amounts, just a little bit of flour. Close it, and we're going to fire it up again. And let that all incorporate, and you can see it's not really as firm as I like. And you can be picky here. Just add a little bit of flour at a time. Doesn't take a lot to make a huge difference. And then if you put too much flour in, put a little bit of water in. We've all played that game, right? So that's how you kind of decide where you're at on these things. So you can see the gluten's formed much better now. It's got a good stretch to it, and that's kind of something you want. I'd like it to be a little smoother, but we're going to roll with it. Baking bread is just a lot of trial and error. I've done half a dozen loaves myself, so don't take me as an expert. So there you go. So we are going to, there we go. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to take this over here to our pan. Now I oil this with olive oil. I find I like it that way. You don't have to use olive oil. You can use something else. So this is pretty sticky, but it doesn't feel wet. So this will go in here, and it's going to stay in here for a little over an hour, to be honest. And so I'm going to coat it with a little bit of olive oil. Doesn't take a lot, right? And cover. Don't look at how messy this area is. Okay. I'll clean it up after I've got everything in the oven. And the reason I'm doing this is to prevent, because I'm going to get some more plastic out, and I want to prevent it from sticking to the saran wrap. And that's really its purpose. And it adds a little bit of flavor. So, and yes, cheap silicone one, OXO. Yeah, so this is, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and put this down on here. No big deal. This will at least double in size. Okay. Now it's time to start the oven. When it's ready, that should be done proofing. They call it proofing. We call it rising. They call it proofing. I am going to put a towel over this because I'm not going to have this right by the oven because of the heat. So we're going to put this on the counter, and we don't want it in light. So that'll cover it up. One of the things you can do instead of using the saran wrap is you could wet your towel, and that'll have a similar effect. So that's going to go over here. And we can see this is almost done with the second proof. By the time this thing heats up, this will be ready to go in the oven. So one thing is that, I mean, that's proofing, oven is preheating. You've got, you know, bread is not a labor-intensive thing. There's a lot of sitting around waiting. And so this is your opportunity. Go ahead, clean things up a little bit. You know, get your stuff ready for your next baking project, or for your, you know, for your own peace of mind. You know, some people, I mean, my kitchen tends to be, I mean, look at this, this is a mess. You know, but this way I can be ready for the next time I want to do something. And you know, I like this kind of project. This kind of project is, I don't have to really, you know, it's not labor intensive. It's a little bit time intensive, but it's not labor intensive, because all of your time is spent, well, you're waiting on this and you're waiting on that. So this is your chance here to, okay, just kind of clean things up a little bit, and you know, that way you don't have to feel horrible. But when the bread comes out, you have room to, you know, to slice your bread. So, yeah, I'm babbling a little bit, but it's but I'm having fun with the whole baking thing these days, because I've done it before, but I didn't have a KitchenAid mixer at the time, so it was more labor intensive. I haven't done bread before until I got that, and I got that because of the quality of food that you find in stores these days has gone down so much. You know, you just don't have the. I mean, you know, should bread last for months in your cupboard? Really? I had, of all things, it was brioche buns, right? And these things were, I mean, brioche buns are heavy in butter. What makes them taste so darn good, right? I mean, they're not healthy, but they're heavy in butter. And I had some that were sitting in my cupboard. They weren't in the freezer, they weren't in the fridge, they were sitting in a dark cupboard. And they were there for a couple of months, and there was like 4 of them in that bag. And they didn't go bad. They were still edible. And that's just like, really? Of all things. I mean, this is with, you know, like I said, heavy butter use. You know, it's so disturbing. So, you know, take a few steps. Like I said, doing a loaf or 2 of bread. So, just kind of cleaning things up a little bit. I think I got as far as I want to go right now. Oven is preheated. So, we're going to remove that. All right. That was considered a final proof. Took about 45 minutes. And that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. A lot of people will score it. I've done that. Don't care that much. I'm fine with the smooth dome. Other people will score it because it just gives room for it to expand. Shouldn't really expand much. So let's get that in the oven. There we go. Okay. And set that for, you know, 35 minutes. at 375 degrees. In the meantime, how is this doing? See, that's actually expanded already. And that's only been about 15 minutes. So that has another hour. And almost done time to get this loaf out of the oven. Close enough. I'm going to keep it hot because I have a whole other one in here. Before we do that, I want to take a look at the proofing on this one. So the idea is, remember what size this dough ball was. And now, wow, look at that. Okay, one of the things you do is they call it punching it down. You're not punching it, okay? But what you're doing is give it a gentle press to get the big gas pockets out, okay? And this proofed up so well. Remember the size of that bowl that before. So this is really good. So we're going to pull, clean it a little bit. We're going to pull this out of the oven. And yes, the bottom of my oven needs to be cleaned. Ooh, look at that. So had I scored it, it would have done that right there, and you'd have that whole thing going on. Since I didn't score it, we have a very high dome, and it's comfortable. I like it. So it's gonna sit for about 5 or 10 minutes while in there. While that's happening, because we do pay no attention to this stuff over here, we need to get this ready for the pan. So a little bit of flour on here, okay, and this is just to give it less of a sticky surface here. And because I oiled this comes right off of here. Look at that. Otherwise it would really stick to it. And because I oiled the pan, it comes right out. There we go. Now, don't have to do a lot. We're just going to we're going to give it a little pull and we'll fold. Okay. Then we're going to take a little bit like that. Then we're going to turn it like this. We're going to pull a little bit. This is actually more than you even need to do. Okay. Then we're going to flip it over and make it look like a little bit of a loaf. Take our pan, which has been, I put olive oil in it. We're going to put this in there. Boom. Okay. Press it down a bit. I don't know if pressing it down is all that necessary. I do it to shape it to the pan better. Okay. So, I'm going to put it back over here. 3-minute limits. Take put it back there. Cover it back up. And this will sit for, half hour, 45 minutes. Okay. Now, while that's happened, I put this wire rack up. This is actually for something else, but I use it for this. And we're going to get this out of this pan. So, see how we did. And then it needs to sit for an hour, honestly. You want it to sit for quite a while. Woo, look at that. Okay. And that needs to sit for about an hour before you cut it. So, very nice. So, in about an hour, we can cut this and we can take a look at the crumb in it and how it looks and how it feels. And this is going to sit for about an hour, well, about a half hour or so. So I'll go ahead and shut the oven off and let that proof up. That's called a second proof. In the meantime, this one is just about ready to cut. Give it about an hour. Now, so we're waiting for that to proof up. Like I said, it has a good half hour or so. This is what I was talking about. It was interesting that on Amazon, this whole thing was $65 plus tax or so. And this is, I mean, it's got a lot going on in it. It's got a meat grinder with sausage tubes. There's the grinder, you know, for grinding and mixing your meat up. And then it has this piece here, which is actually really all I wanted. And this is for grating things like your cheese, slicing veggies, things like that. So yeah, and it was like, I think it was 45 for just this part right here, and it was 65 for all of it. So okay, well, when am I going to use it? I don't know. I'm buying a half a pig with a buddy of mine. He's getting half, I'm getting half. So, you know, maybe I'll find a use for it. But this just attaches to the front. This is all part of the meat section. Yep. Okay, this is for pressing meat in, I assume. This is, oh yeah, so, yeah, this is what I wanted, was this right here, because it attaches to the front of your, front of your KitchenAid, and now you can grate and everything. These are the blades for the meat, and different things I can put in here, different uses. You know, yeah, that was $65. So, was it cheap? Eh. Oh, look at that. That pops right out. And that's what I'm going to use the most right there. But my son will appreciate this. He makes a goulash where he shreds up a couple of blocks of cheese, and he'll appreciate this. So, yeah. And so that's, I just want to throw that in the middle of the video. So, kind of the advantage of the Meta Ray Bans. So, okay, so this one is almost done proofing. I'm going to score this one, like we didn't score the other one, just to experience the difference. And it doesn't take much, just a little score. I sharpen the knife up, little score, boom. That's all I'm doing for it. I'm going to cover it up, let it proof up a little bit more while the oven preheats. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll find out that you should only score it right before you put it in the oven. Don't know. Okay, so after scoring, resting for really just a couple more minutes, you can see it, and I can get rid of this has olive oil on it. Get rid of this now. My fine son is starting his process. He is going to make homemade rye bread rolls for as burger buns. So watch out.
Didn't have the rye last time, but I have the rye now.
Yeah, last time we did it, we didn't have rye bread or the rye flour. So now we have it. I bought a little bit.
It turned out pretty well the next time.
Yeah, it turned out really good with that. So we're gonna set this timer for 35 minutes again, because that works really well. And in 35 minutes, we'll see where we're at and see how that looks after I scored it like that. One of the dangers of a kitchen dog, a dog that loves the kitchen, actually just loves being wherever we are.
I tried to get her out of here.
And it doesn't work. All right, time to get this other loaf out. And you can hear he's working on his rye bread right now. Let's see what we come up with. Better put this glove on. All right. Ooh. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That was hot. Should have used two gloves. That looks pretty good. Let that sit for a minute and we'll pull it out. You know, one of the things they say is 195 degrees. So, is where you want it to be at. So, we're going to go and check it. So, 67, 173, yeah, we're going to hit that 195, no problem. So, this is fully cooked, ready to go. It doesn't look like it poofed as much in the oven. I don't know if that was because of that slit I put into it, or if I, you know, or what. You know, there can be so many different variables. Not a big deal. So, okay. It's been about a minute. Usually you want, I don't know how long you want to wait for this. Personally, that's enough for me. I'm impatient. And yeah, that's a good looking loaf there. That's gonna have to sit for an hour. That one's ready to cut. We'll cut them both at the same time though, so we can just kind of get the comparison here. So you can see the difference between these two. So we'll give this an hour of rest, and then cut them and see what happens. Looking at them, they look the same heights, don't they? So this one looked more poof to me than this one did. That's okay though. All right. Okay, time to cut. And if you look at these two loaves, this one didn't really develop as much of a skin on it. The score worked. It seemed to fill in the pan a bit better. This one has a smoother skin, unscored. Crust feels pretty comparable. So let's. I use a smooth blade. Surprisingly, it works really well. There are lots of people who sit there and say you have to have a bread knife. You have to have a particular bread knife with a serrated edge to do this, but clearly that's not absolutely required. Ooh, how's that look? That feels pretty good. Let's. That was a little thick. Yeah, that's a good crumb. That is very nice looking. Let's thin it out a little bit. We don't have to go that thick. All right. So I'm going to finish cutting this, and then I'll turn the camera back on when I start cutting this one. Okay, that one's all cut, bagged. I pulled one slice out just to have a comparison slice. So let's go work on this one and see what we come up with here. Nice and soft, not dense. That's kind of the big deal. Again, I'm starting too thick. So, but yeah, that's good. That's very good. All right, so I would say this one's probably has a little more spring to it. Yeah, this one's pretty good though. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with this. It's not falling apart when you squeeze it. Gluten's holding really well. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. Anyway, there's my adventures in baking. If you want to do it, I encourage you to do it. I mean, holy cow. I mean, what are they putting in our food as it is? We've discovered things like, a loaf of bread might last for a month on the counter nowadays. That's not right. I'm going to go ahead and bag both of these, but I'm going to share these with the fam here. And, trying to get a little bit healthier. Doesn't have to be huge, just a little bit healthier. Yeah, these are good sandwich bread here. And, because that's my goal, is to be a little bit healthier. Doesn't have to be huge amounts. I'm going to put some butter on these and see how we like them. So anyway, God bless. It was a great time. I'm enjoying this. Try making some different stuff here soon. Maybe I've been thinking about like a cinnamon swirl bread, cinnamon raisin bread, something like that. I'd like to do that. Monkey bread, always good. Not healthy, but good. And next weekend, we're doing our church small group meets again, starting to meet again, and I'll probably do up some einkorn, a loaf of einkorn, which I found has a lot of good flavor to it, and share that with them. Bring some butter, and it's like, here, try this. I found baking is a nice outlet. It's very rewarding. So be sure to try it.